This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I'm the host on our podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. Guys, we're going to keep diving in. You know we got something to talk about every week because there's going to always be something going on. So tonight, we are going to talk about intolerance for foolishness, and our clinical perspectives is going to be about mental maturity. Guys, there's going to be a lot of things presented to us, and some of it's going to be downright foolishness. Oh yeah, it has been. So that seems to be a part of the modus operandi of what gets presented to us to keep us all distracted and all skewed all over the place. And those that are going to walk in any level of peace, I've learned to embrace mental maturity because people can get all over the place with gaslighting you and all kinds of presentations to manipulate, control us, lie, deceive. People do it. Political parties do it. Politicians do it. We experience that in relationships, and we have to decide what you're going to do with that. So tonight, as we continue to pray for our fellow Americans, our flag represents that behind us. Our presidential seal represents our president that we want to keep in prayer. Whoever's in leadership, those on Capitol Hill, it's important that we pray. Yes. And so there's a lot going on, and it's going to get real tight. It's going to get fiery. It's going to increase. And then we're going to be confronted with foolishness, and we're going to have to decide what are we going to do with that. These presentations that are going to be coming at us at breakneck speed over the lying mainstream media that is set up to manipulate, control, and deceive us. We got to decide what we're going to do with it. I don't look at it anymore. I'm going into my 6th year of not looking at it. I have a different path. So if you want to know, now talking about foolishness, if you want to know, somebody say, I don't know why Trump was even elected. Well, if you want to know why he was elected, go back and watch Barack Hussein Obama's attack speech at Jesse Jackson's funeral. Go back and just look at his cadence and pay attention to what he said. He did the same thing throughout his presidency, these presentations and his whole demeanor. He created a straw man to describe Republicans as bigots who force Americans to turn on each other. I'm going to say it right now. Let me just get it out there, and it's easy to prove. It's easy to prove. Barack Hussein Obama and his wife, Michelle, they're the biggest disappointment ever in terms of bringing us together as a nation. They have been the most divisive people in America to keep things stirred up surrounding race. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Put it in the comments. If I'm missing it there, prove me wrong. Always making something about race and always talking about victimhood. So that was that straw man that he presented at Jesse Jackson's funeral to describe Republicans as bigots who forced the American people to turn on each other. He said similar mess when he was president and the GOP was a party of Bush, McCain, and Romney back then. It's a language of bitterness and resentment that makes good people recoil to be described that way. That's not how we are. Not what he describes all the time. Obama was one of the most divisive figures in U.S. history, except he is celebrated by mainstream media because they are partisan. They take sides and they take sides and they have their beloved Obama, and they protect him. Conversely, they try to rip President Trump apart. They don't give him credit for what he does. They don't. Not the mainstream media. It's no wonder that a tough, no BS, bull in the China person emerged. That person was a fed up Trump who broke the mainstream media. He broke them by not caring what they thought. He would point at them, say, see, that's your fake news, your fake news. Remember he started that? Why? He called them out. He showed us that you can punch back and win. His rise coincided with the welcome birth at long last of conservative media, which gives voice to the voiceless who had been forced to consume the prejudices of the mainstream media. It's just like what Joseph Goebbels was doing back during the days of Hitler with his people receivers, and it programmed them and it programmed them. It's no different. The mainstream media is just like the tools of persuasion, which were these radios that people had, that they controlled them with propaganda, called people receivers. That's what's going on the TV and radio today, especially TV, mainstream media. I don't look at it because they lie. Why am I going to look at lies? This is why so many, a lot of people just don't really like Obama. He always has been and always will be divider in chief. That has been his presentation. He put America last, guys, and that made him weak. Patronizing others. He said some of the most asinine things. He put America last. He put Christians last. You seen the Christians, how they were lined up overseas and what happened to them? And under Trump, you had 800 pastors being released from prison in Venezuela. Conversely, even the people in Iran, on the underground church, they were rejoicing. We got a ways to go on all of that leveling out, but it is what it is where we're at right now. There's a lot on the line with that number one terrorist country in the world over there. Pray for our president, pray for our leadership, pray for those who are in charge, the military, all of it. Guys, Obama helped Trump to get elected. Yes, I said that. He helped him to get elected. The Obama-Biden-Harris cabal being on full display at the funeral of Jesse Jackson is a perfect example of how I don't count on the news to tell me how to think. I look at events for myself, and I use basic logic and deductive reasoning, and I'm encouraging you to do the same, guys. We don't need to tell them what to think. They lie all day long, and it's gonna heat up as we get closer to this election in November. Based upon facts, we need to have facts that are synthesized and integrated, void of manipulation and emotions of the lying, manipulative mainstream media. I remember when I detoxed myself from it, God told me to turn it off. And I was like, well, I hadn't looked at it in 2 weeks. Why am I going back? And so 2 weeks is turning to 6 years. Obama started off that speech at that funeral of Jesse Jackson, explaining the conditions that Jesse Jackson lived under when he was young. And every single thing that he described is what was perpetrated upon this nation via the Democratic Party. Guys, that's history accurately told. Then he shifted to talking about justice, fairness, and hope, and keeping a cadence in his voice, switching his dialect, and at times even kind of segueing into what I call jive talking. That's part of his presentation, just a way that he does. Obama talked about how we were living in a time when it can be hard to hope. Oh, really? There are a lot of things that we can hope for. He said that each day we wake up to some new assault on our democratic institutions and setbacks on the idea of the rule of law. The major law-breaking, perpetrating leader of perpetration of the breaking of law, dishonoring our Constitution and setting up mayhem. And he has a nerve to talk about the rule of law. Let me keep going. Every day he said you wake up to things you just didn't think were possible. Well, that's what we say in terms of what you perpetrated upon us. We didn't think all these things were possible. We didn't think that billions upon billions of our taxpayer dollars would be given to Somalis and that they would send it overseas to Africa. We certainly didn't think we would wake up to that. Each day, he said, we're being told by those in high office to fear each other and to turn on each other. And that some Americans count more than others. See, you know what? He's lying right there. He lied when he said that because he's talking about the illegal immigrants. They aren't Americans, guys. They're not citizens. So we don't think we're any more better than them. What we're saying is come in the right way. We welcome you. We welcome you. Now, get this, my fellow Americans and my brothers and sisters. He went on to say, and I want you to lean in right here. He went on to say that everywhere we see greed and bigotry, that's related to racism. That's all he and Michelle Push said should be their middle name. He said that's what's being celebrated. And bullying and mockery masquerading as strength. We see science and expertise being denigrated. What's he talking about? Science. We had a Supreme Court justice that Biden put in, didn't even know the definition of a woman. That's what they pushed on us, that there's no such thing. Telling children, you can be a pelican, you can be whatever you want to be, but you're not a male or female. That's what was being pushed in our public schools, and we were paying for it, and we've gotten that mess out of there, and it's still discovering some books that got in there that were donated. Guys, it's a mess what was perpetrated upon us. You know, Obama went on at that funeral talking about, well, it's just tempting to get discouraged. Oh, really? Based on what y'all did to us? To give into cynicism? Well, we're choosing to not be cynical. We're choosing to tell the truth. And we hope and believe and want to participate in the process of us being better. And he talked about a storm passing over. When you got put out and we won the election in 2024, we believe that contributed to the storms being addressed. What they perpetrated upon us, guys, is crazy. When I heard him, I thought to myself, what is that man talking about? Science and expertise being denigrated? Surely he wasn't referring to the definition between a man and a woman. Was he referring to the corruption and reaping untold rewards as what has been blatantly uncovered in Minnesota, where billions upon billions of our taxpayer dollars were used in fraudulent scams and money laundering fronts? Is that what he was referring to when he talked about corruption and the reaping of untold rewards? Who reaped untold rewards while Americans suffered? Was he referring to the nearly $700 million in cash that was detected in passenger luggage leaving St. Paul, Minneapolis, the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport? That happened over the previous 2 years. That's what's been uncovered. Massive cash exodus. Transported in suitcases. Who was doing that? It was all linked to Somali money couriers and fraudulent activity, guys. That's our reality. Was Obama referring to the fraudulent scams that have been uncovered that occurred during, and I'll say it, the stimulus package, Obama, Obamacare, Obama, COVID-19, Obama, USAID, Obama, where our money was paying for the surgeries of people in Africa who were transitioning instead of the money helping those who needed help with farming and maybe did have devastating diseases in hospitals. And then there's illegal immigration. The Obama, Biden, Harris cabal has been involved in it all. Guys, we were paying for their housing, their health care, their child care, their food, free money card, video games. Oh my God. They were just like, oh, hurry up and get over there. We get all these freebies. Guys, they had thousands of these people that they brought in that were convicted criminals. And what did they do? They leased them on our streets. 13,000 of them were convicted already. Oh, my God. Is that what Obama meant when he said corruption was reaping untold rewards every single day? Was he talking about the 98 individuals who've been charged in relation to fraud in Minnesota, and where 60 of them have already pled guilty or been convicted? And you got people saying nobody's been arrested. They won't tell you on the news. That's why you don't know. Surely. That surely had to be who Obama was referring to. Guys, do you get the picture? Do you get the picture? Do you get the picture? Then you had Biden. He's an extension of Obama, talking about it's tough and we're dealing with an administration didn't have any values and it was a mess and gosh, guys, he was perpetrating a mess where we had 10,000 illegal immigrants crossing our border to the tune of 10,000 a day. And 800,000 of them being criminals who had done heinous crimes as already determined by a court system. Do you see the manipulative gaslighting? Then you had Harris to get up there talking about she predicted all of this. What did you predict, Kamala? That the money laundering fronts and the fraudulent scams would be uncovered? Is that what you predicted? Did you predict that the billions upon billions of our taxpayer dollars? You see how they gaslight us? See, these are the kinds of dynamics that are causing people to leave the Democratic Party. Guys, they've had enough. They lie, they manipulate over and over again, and people just don't want to have anything to do with them. Let me continue. Many remember that, guys, there are people, they realize that Obama was a Trojan horse. He was a Trojan horse. And you have Black Americans saying, I had people telling me, girl, he the last chance for Black people. Wow. And I look at them and I said, do you realize there was a 58.2% increase of Black Americans on food stamps and a 9% decrease of Black Americans owning homes when he was in office? What are you talking about? Last chance for Black people related to what? I'll close by saying this. Guys, the Democrat Party has done a number on us. From their inception historically all the way up to now, they have perpetrated things upon us. It's from the pits of hell. So what did they do at Jesse Jackson's funeral? They turned it into a political event after his son said, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Jesse Jackson was loved by President Trump. President Trump paid for his, when he ran for office, he gave him funds for Operation Push. He gave him free space on Wall Street, in office space there. Guys, this is why I want to talk about these things, because a lot of people don't know these things. We're talking about being intellectually honest. It'll get you a long way, coupled with basic logic and deductive reasoning. When I visited the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., I saw a display called the Tools of Persuasion. Guys, when I went to that Holocaust Museum, it rocked my world. But I respectfully submit that we are surrounded by people who may be a victim of such tools as what was used during the Holocaust to manipulate and control minds with lies and deception, as explained in the museum. Now listen to this. This is what that display basically said. Nazi propaganda drew its power from the government's absolute control over the flow of information. All news media was censored by Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's minister of propaganda. Freedom of speech was ruthlessly suppressed. Beginning on, it was September 1st, 1939, Germans who listened to uncensored information on foreign radio broadcasts risk severe punishment. That reminds me, when I do get some news information, I look at Al Jazeera. They're going to tell the truth about what's going on over here. I look at Australia. I look at foreign news outfits. I want to see their perspective. And then I use basic logic and deductive reasoning. And moreover, I want to hear the speeches themselves that come straight from Capitol Hill. I want to hear what was actually said. I don't need the media to tell me what to think. So what they were doing through these tools of persuasion back in the day of Hitler and his minister of propaganda, what these tools of persuasion explain in the Holocaust Museum, they talked about the endless rallies, parades, speeches, rituals, sham elections were tools of public persuasion. And every year, the Germans were expected to participate in hundreds of Nazi events. Those ceremonies reinforced an ideology among those they considered faithful and helped to weed out the disobedient. Yeah, they wanted to weed out the disobedient. Goebbels also exploited the latest techniques of film and radio, any means of communication, to push the agenda of the Nazi propaganda. The government made inexpensive radios called people receivers. And it was available to every German household, and they would just sit there and listen to it. I know people that look at the TV all day long. Guys, that can be crippling. And my heart goes out because I know how that affects people. Turn it off. Detox. Don't sleep with it on. Listen and learn to think for yourself. Some people don't even realize what's at stake, guys. They don't know what the president knows. They don't know what his cabinet knows. They don't know what Marco Rubio knows. Certain ethnic groups in our nation have been targeted with much specificity and don't even realize that one of those groups is Black Americans, and it's easy to prove. Listen, there's been a masterful manipulation, and it's real. But when you have wisdom and basic logic and deductive reasoning, you don't have to be duped. Listen, you can have spiritual discernment. I'm telling you right now, and I sure am glad. I'm glad that Donald Trump is our president, because a lot of these things would not have been uncovered. The Obama, Biden, Harris cabal was aiding and abetting agendas that would make you cringe in your boots if it all came out. And I pray that it all comes out. I believe the thing uncovered in Minnesota is an answer to prayer. You got people, Kimberly Blakes just walks the floor, does lives about prayer. I've been on there with her, and she's just sold out to praying. She's an advocate, and you have many others. You got prayer groups going on everywhere. Guys, our nation is worth it. In fact, guys, there are people that are setting up things to make us fail. President Trump knows those things, but they think he's the enemy. He's imperfect. He's not going to get everything right, But I don't believe he's our enemy. And you got people, oh Lord, Candace Owens is going off the charts. I'll leave that right there. It just goes on and on. And I was like, oh no, I don't even have time for processing that. I don't have time. I'm going to listen to it for myself, and I'm not going to, oh wow, there we go. I'll move on. We already know that the cabal were paroling criminals out of prison. I'll say that again. A lot of people don't know it. They go, what? How you know that? Guys, look it up. Go look it up for yourself. These people were being flown into our country. Our taxpayer dollars were paying for their housing, health care, food, free money card, child daycare. What does that say to you? What does that say to you? We were not the priority. Guys, wake up. The stakes are high. It's all of these types of dynamics that involve the dire need for us to know that there's a lot at stake, to step up with our knowledge. And we need leadership that's exhibiting and flowing, and us flowing in mental maturity. So let's touch upon that in terms of our clinical perspective. What does that look like? Mental maturity is a transformative, lifelong process that fosters resilience, emotional regulation, and deep self-awareness, allowing individuals to choose peace over ego and respond rather than to react. Mental maturity, we're talking about being mature. Mental maturity and emotional maturity ties in together. It enables healthier relationships through empathy, vulnerability, and clear communication while enhancing decision-making, stability, and personal freedom. What are some facets, some key facets of being mentally and emotionally mature? What are key facets? What would happen if we learn to manage feelings rather than being controlled by them, resulting in calm, thoughtful reactions instead of outbursts? What would happen? What if we had a high self-awareness that allows for understanding our own triggers, acknowledging mistakes, and taking responsibility for actions, reducing unnecessary conflict? What would happen if mature individuals understand their limits and set healthy boundaries while simultaneously empathizing with others' perspectives? Guys, what would happen if we had the ability to handle life's challenges, stress, and if necessary, to ask for help if we need it? What would happen if we focused on choosing to stay in control, not being ramrodded all over the place, learning that we can let go of having the need to win every argument and prioritize long-term growth over immediate noisy reactions? Guys, what have we looked at tonight? Intolerance for foolishness. All that stuff that they've been doing to us is pure foolishness to keep us in their control, to keep us in their grip. Guys, they didn't want us to know, but it's out. We know now. And all of this, if we know and we're informed, it might lead to mental maturity. That's my goal. I want us to just thrive. I want our children to excel. Guys, but we got to get honest. So how we going to get honest if we don't know the truth? That's what we're going to keep dissecting things over here. Because if we're empowered with truth and knowledge and strategy, skills, and tools, it takes us from the title of this podcast, from destruction to dignity, clinical perspectives, a way of thinking, structure, wellness, spiritual truth. God has a plan for this country, and the enemy has a plan for this country. He has a plan for me and for you, but I say that God wins, and I'm going to come over here and dissect things. Why? Because we are well worth it. We are one nation under God. I'm going to keep saying it, because God's plan is for us to be one nation under God, indivisible, together. Us flowing together as one, forming a more perfect union. That's what a more perfect union means. Forming a more perfect union is us flowing together as one. We're one nation, guys, under God. Whew. Has there been a battle for that or what? Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to keep dissecting it, keep coming back. I will see you next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation.